And so anyway, we started home, and we found that Betty Joe was as far away from home as I was, and we got in the car with two young college people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Two
and
boys, right?
huh?
Two boys.
Two boys,
And tell him why those boys stopped.
because they had sisters the same age as what we were, and he said that it's gonna look bad
Hmm.
because you know you're underage and da 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 and da 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 and so we got that down and tried not to. But my mother was there, just I mean, slinging things everywhere.
So you got home and you were in trouble?
I was in bad trouble with my mother, and
Because you were late?
yep. You know that it doesn't make sense. If I had a ride home,
We got
somebody
home,
should
right?
have been happy.
Right.
Been happy you got home safe, huh?
Yeah. And so, as we got out of the car to go in my house, the guy said, well, "This must be the smart one."
Talking about you?
Hmm. And I said, "Well, no, I'm no smarter than she is." And but I got in so much trouble.
Did Betty Joe get in trouble?
No. Her parents were just glad they were safe,
Yeah.
and they. I was counterfeit because just because I had gone to the fair
Mm-hmm.
and I had told her that I was going to the fair.
What year do you think this was, Mimi?
How
What year was that, you think?
How old were you?
How old were you?
old was I? I turned 16 that night.
Oh, so it was your birthday?
Yeah. And got in awful trouble with my family, you know.
And so what year was that then? If she was 16.
That would have been in 46.
1946.
Yeah.
Right after the war.
1946.
What do you remember about World War II?
What do I remember about World War II?
Yeah.
I remember my stepfather being in the Navy,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a part of the Navy that took care of the people that were already hurt.
Right.
And
So he was on a medical ship, maybe?
yeah,
Okay.
medical ship.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
And he was gone, though, all through the whole war?
yeah, and it was good. And
What
so,
was his name?
Malcolm?
Christmas?
Malcolm Christmas.
And what was your mom's name?
Was
Mary.
what is it?
Mary.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. That was her name.
Yeah. And she loved it. And because she got all the stars and everything, you know. But anyway, that was a night.
That
Don't
was
want
nice.
to do that again. But
So
But-
where did you live then?
where did I live then?
Mm-hmm.
For a while, I lived with Mother in Charlotte and went to school down here.
And what high school did you go to?
Hmm.
What high school?
Fort Mill High School.
Fort Mill, in South Carolina. Right.
Didn't you go to Harding sometime?
Yeah, and then I went to Harding. Mother decided that she was gonna stay drunk until Chris got out.
Well, that was not good.
No,
And that's when you went to stay with Grandmama Hunter,
yeah,
and she lived where?
in Fort Mill,
Fort Mill.
yeah, and
What do you remember about Grandma Hunter? What are your memories
she
about her?
was a wonder,
Uh huh.
an absolute wonder.
Because of everything she was able to do, or
Yeah, everything she was able to do, she made my clothes.
She sewed a lot, didn't she?
Yeah,
She had one of those pedal sewing machines.
yeah,
She used to make me dresses too.
yeah, yeah, and she was a wonder, really.
She cooked. She did all kinds of stuff.
And did she have a husband there?
No,
Okay,
he
I didn't know that.
he'd come by once in a while, but she didn't have anything to do with him.
What was her first name?
Sudie,
Sudie Hunter. Yeah.
and I loved her so much.
Did she take you to church on Sundays?
No, she
No.
didn't. She didn't go to church. She said, "I don't have the clothes to wear to church,
Really?
so I'll just stay home and do what they do on television," and that's what she did.
Mm-hmm.
She was a wonder.
And how long did you live with her?
Well, my husband's Navy guy decided to go in business in Pensacola, Florida. And that's when I got into Harding. Mother took me up to Charlotte, and
You had some good times at Harding, though, didn't you? You loved
yeah,
it.
I liked it. Didn't love it, but
You
I
didn't
liked
love it?
Well, it was school, so.
because
Yeah.
I didn't have the clothes the other kids had, and I never knew that clothes were so important.
Yeah, to young people, they really are. They
Yeah.
are sometimes.
And but I got by.
Yeah.
You've always had nice clothes since I've known you. Maybe that's why, huh?
Huh?
Maybe that's why you had nice clothes all the time now.
That's
Yeah.
why you have all those clothes in your closets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like clothes.
yeah,
I like being up to date.
yeah. You always look nice.
And so
Well, tell us, Mimi, when did you meet Sonny? Like, how old were you, and where did that all happen? If you don't.
I met him in Harding,
Okay.
at Harding. He had a nickname, and the boys had given it to him.
What was his nickname?
Big Dick.
Oh,
Oh,
all right then. Okay, great.
okay. And so, I guess I have to ask: is that why you started dating him, or that didn't hurt anything?
I don't know. I don't know. He latched himself to me, really.
He was pretty good looking guy then, wasn't he?
He was.
He was pretty
He was a
popular.
pain in the neck.
Yeah, later he became a pain in the
Yeah.
neck.
And so,
But he was one of the popular ones, right? You told me one time.
uh-uh,
Oh, he wasn't.
uh-uh.
He didn't have a car and all that stuff.
Yeah, he had a car,
Hmm.
motorcycle.
He was he was real,
And I rode on that motorcycle.
and you got in trouble for that too, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. You're out of it. And that was it.
And who was that? Your mother or grandma or
There's my mother.
your mother? Yeah.
My grandmother trusted me. She trusted me.
Mm-hmm.
I let her down one time. And, well, she got me.
So you and Sonny ended up getting married.
Yeah.
And how old were you then?
How old was I? Stupid.
18, right?
Yeah. 18.
Uh-huh.
And,
And he was 18.
yeah.
And then,
Well, always I was a little bit older
Mhm.
than he was.
right?
And, but anyway,
And how long were you married before you had your first child?
You remember what year you got married
yeah,
to Daddy?
yeah.
What year?
I think I do remember. But it
Would have been
It's
something
all
like
Well,
47,
Yeah, you were 18, so it would have been 48,
48.
1948. And then who was your first child?
who was my first child?
Mm-hmm.
Michael. No,
Jan?
Michael was never mine.
No, he's a grandchild.
Yeah,
Your first child was Jan?
yeah.
And why did you name her Jan?
'Cause I liked it. It sounded good. Janny.
Yeah.
And that's what you've been all these years.
Yeah.
And but we got married, and I don't think he liked being married.
Yeah, he was a little player, wasn't he?
Yeah. And I didn't realize it. I was so stupid.
Well, sometimes at 18, we're not the smartest people in the world. But
So,
you know what? You learn by your mistakes, right?
yeah.
So you had Janet Denise, right?
Yeah,
That's what you named her?
Yeah.
And then you had 3 years later, what was your second child?
Cliff.
What was his name? Clifton what?
Clifton.
Eugene?
Clifton Eugene
Sifford.
Sifford. Yeah.
And he was pretty cute, huh?
Oh yeah. He was a cutie.
Yeah.
And
Jan wasn't too bad herself,
no,
right?
Jan was smart.
Yeah, Jan was pretty
Yeah.
beautiful.
Jan was smart.
Leading the witness.
Yeah.
And
And,
so
And
where
they,
did you live when you were during this time when you were having babies and
with my mother-in-law,
oh
lived with her. We lived with her.
and what was her name?
She was a wonderful woman.
I can't think of her first name, but you called her Miss Sifford.
Uh-huh.
I can't, what was her name? Do you remember? I know it. I can't think of it right.
I know it, but I can't think of it.
Anyway, she was a very sweet woman, very
Yeah, she was a
nice.
sweet woman. And so ashamed of her son.
And what did she call her son?
Son.
Son, she did. That's what I remember. Son? Yep, I remember
so was
that.
his name Sonny or was that just because was his real name Sonny or was that just because she called him son all the time?
She called him son.
But his real name was Clifton Taylor.
Yeah, Clifton Taylor.
Okay, so Sonny came from her calling him son. Okay, gotcha.
So anyway,
And then you had the third child,
yeah. Robin.
Robin Kay, right?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
He had the gall to ask me, was that really his child?
Yeah. Y'all were having a little trouble then, right?
Oh, yeah. The big trouble.
Yeah. So he didn't
Horrible.
hang out. He didn't hang very long after that, right?
No, he didn't hang very. He hung with a gal on the lake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was probably in, let's see, that was probably in 1963 that he left.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I was 12 years old.
yeah.
No, I take that back. I was 8 years old. So that was
So
in
56.
59.
Wow.
He left in 1959.
Mm-hmm.
And then, what did you do? From 1959, when he left, how did you do?
I tended to my children.
Yeah. You remember where we lived?
Yeah,
Remember that street?
yeah.
What's the name of it?
Um,
It was a little white house. Bethel Road.
hmm?
Do you remember Bethel Road?
Bethel Road, yeah.
That's
Bethel
where we
Road.
lived.
Yeah,
And is this the place that you had a dog named Cracker?
yeah.
No?
No,
That
we
was
didn't.
No,
later.
we got that later.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was too busy trying to keep my marriage together.
We didn't have pets.
No pets.
Uh-uh.
And so then it was a pretty tough few years for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to raise 3 kids. But then you met somebody. Who'd you meet?
Ernie.
Yeah. And then what?
And how'd you meet Ernie?
Huh?
How did you meet Ernie?
A girl in my Sunday school class introduced me to
Uh-huh.
Ernie.
What was her name? You remember? Fran. Remember Fran? I don't remember her last name.
She didn't come on a picture. I guess she did.
Yeah, Fran's the one that introduced you.
And she wanted him better than she was determined she was going to have him.
Oh, she wanted him, but introduced you and he liked you better? Is that what happened?
Yep.
Well, there you go.
And I don't know. That was a lifesaver right there.
Ernie was?
Uh-huh. He supplied me with a car. He said, "You take my car and you use it. You don't have to go on the street bus, you know." So, anyway, I did. And then we got to be a pair. And
But how did he feel about you having 3 kids? Did the kids get along?
the kids got along,
Uh huh.
and he said, somebody asked him, "What in the world did you mean marrying a woman with 3 kids?" He said, they're going to be my kids. They're going to be my kids.
So he looked forward to being the dad.
Huh?
He wanted to be the dad,
Yeah.
and he was good at it, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was wonderful, really.
So did he have children of his own?
Yeah. He was a blind boy.
What was his name?
Bud.
Mm-hmm.
And he was so smart. That guy was smarter than anybody I've ever
He
seen.
was very intelligent. What else did he do that was so interesting?
He played the piano,
Yeah.
played music all the time. God,
And never took a lesson ever, right?
never took a lesson.
He played by ear.
And he'd get down and take his ear, and he said, I'm taking him by ear." So he was funny. I loved him.
So he lived with us for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
After y'all got married.
Yeah.
Do you remember what road we lived on when Ernie lived on? We moved into his house. You remember that name of that street?
Bethel Road.
No, that's where we were when Daddy was there. We moved from there and went to some apartments, remember?
Uh-huh.
On Wayland Avenue and the plaza.
Wayland Avenue.
Yeah, that's where we lived after that. Then, when you married Ernie, we moved to Dinglewood.
Yeah.
You remember that street?
Yeah.
And the little house?
Yeah. We provided for you.
Yeah, you did. That's where we got Cracker.
Uh-huh.
And then we had a pool. Remember that pool?
Yeah.
Well, tell us about Cracker, because you told me a lot of stories about Cracker. Was he a crazy dog or what?
No, he was a crazy dog. He when we first got him, Ernie sent Robin out to get him out of the car, and she came back and she said, "I found a dog." and she had never thought she had never had a daddy, because she wouldn't say Sonny was his dear daddy.
Well, he never claimed her, did he?
And so she picked that dog up, and then she said, "I found this dog, and I'm gonna keep it." And she did.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys let her have him, you know. But she said, "I got a daddy now."
Yeah. She loved Ernie, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Because she was what? She was only 3 years old.
yeah. And she loved him, buddy, I tell you. And he loved her. And
I guess she was 6. She was 3 years old when you met Ernie,
yeah,
and she was 6 when you got married.
yeah.
And I was 12, or she was 5, and I was 12 years old.
And where did you get married?
Northside Baptist.
Oh yeah, when did you start going to Northside?
Started going to Northside. Can't even remember a day that I didn't go to Northside.
We started to Northside when I was 6 years old. So that would have been 1957.
Yeah.
We started Northside.
And was it a new church then, or had it just started?
It was a raggedy church. But it got better.
Yeah.
Got better and better and better.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord just blessed and blessed and blessed. And it was a wonderful life.
Now, what all did you do at Northside? When you used to work there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What all did you do there?
I did children's music.
Did you do anything with the daycare?
Yeah, I tried not to. But the pastor said, I need you to do so and so and so and so and so. And I did it.
Yeah. You were in charge of the daycare there, right?
Yeah.
And then, what else did you do there? You drove a bus or something?
Yeah. A little bus. And
Volkswagen bus?
Volkswagen bus. And and there was one little couple that they always got in a fight. Always. So I'd stop the bus and go and pull them out of there and spank their bottoms a little bit. And then go on back and do it again, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it paid off. We became one of the biggest churches ever.
And who was the pastor?
Huh?
Who was the pastor?
Who was the
Pastor.
The pastor of the church.
Who was the preacher?
preacher? Was our own preacher.
What was his name? Do you remember?
Oh yeah,
What was it?
I can't remember.
Jack?
Huh?
Jack? That's his first name.
Yeah.
Hudson?
Uh-huh.
Jack Hudson?
Yeah. And he had a wife, and he had children.
What's your best memory of Dr. Hudson?
Dr. Hudson. He could cry at a just like that.
He had a tender heart, didn't he?
He had a tender heart, and he loved everybody. And he was a wonderful, wonderful man.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes he made mistakes. But then the Lord, it seems like the Lord would correct it,
Yeah.
you know. But the church just kept growing and growing and growing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so proud, so proud.
And did you teach Sunday school there?
Yeah,
What age did you teach?
teenage.
Wasn't it like 9 or 10-year-olds, third and fourth graders?
Well, I had some like that,
Mm-hmm.
and but mostly they just, it got to where it was just kids
Mm-hmm.
that the school bus, we had a bus,
Mm-hmm.
the bus picked up and brought them, and we taught them.
Yeah. They used to bring kids from all over Charlotte.
Yeah.
What about, did you do something with the choir, like with the kids? Did you have children's choir?
I had children's choir, and they were good.
How many years did you do children's choir?
More than I wanted to.
Many, many years.
Yeah, and
Who was the best singer? Who was the best one in all your years? Who was the best singer in the children's choir?
I would say I like to say Michael, but he was my favorite.
Yeah.
But
I think you told me one time it was Amanda Hicks.
yeah, Amanda Hicks.
Mm-hmm.
She had a great voice. I told her mother, I said, you need to get her a teacher.
And she still has a beautiful voice. She still sings in church.
Yeah, but she was really, really good. So it was a good life.
So those children's choir, when they would perform in church, did they get some laughs every once in a while?
Did they what?
Get some laughs?
Oh, always. If they didn't come up with one, I came up with one. Because they deserved to. They deserved to be that, and but then the kids got hateful.
Really?
Yeah, and I said, man, I don't like this. It's fight to get them here and fight to keep them here. And I don't like this. So we got that
What about
straight.
Pondella Drive?
Huh?
What does Pondella Drive mean?
Pondella Drive.
Pondella, yeah. Did you live on that Pondella?
Yeah, that was how I drove the car.
Well, we moved there. Remember when Ernie went out and bought a lot at Lake Norman?
Yeah.
And he came home, and what did he tell you? You didn't know he was doing it.
He said, I bought a lot up on the lake.
That hadn't even been built yet.
And I said,
There was no lake, right?
It was
there's
just,
no lake.
You just bought a piece of farmland, right?
Yeah. And I didn't like that. And but it worked out all right.
So then when they filled the lake up or built the dam,
Yeah.
what happened?
do you remember us going out there and watching them dig that lake out?
Yeah.
We go up there and watch them with the bulldozers and
Yeah. We did it.
yeah.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
And then build a big old house up there, didn't you?
Yeah. Big
So-
old house.
Well, what we might do is stop at that, and then we'll do this again another day because you look like you're getting tired.
Yeah.
So let's do it. We'll finish it out another day. We got to Northside and to the lake.
Yeah.
So And we'll talk about the rest of it later when you're feeling a little better,
But
okay?
he's, we just kept growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kept growing.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Those were good years for you, weren't they?
yeah, they were wonderful years.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful years. But
Well,
now,
Mimi, thanks for coming. I appreciate you coming and doing that. I want you, can you come back and we'll
Yeah.
talk about from when you moved to the lake and built the house
Yeah.
and stuff, that all the things that happened after that.
We'll talk about Pondella. We have stories from that place.
Pondella,
Yeah. We have some stories from there.
you didn't like there.
Well, it was different. I liked it there because I was near Benita, remember?
Yeah.
We were near Benita and Penny, and I got to go riding bikes with them all the time and
Uh-huh.
go to her house because she was in the same neighborhood. But remember that miner bird that you kept for Bobby? Yeah, we have stories about that. So
My
When-
life is a story.
it is. That's why we want you to do this. So, but we're going to stop right now and go to the doctor because it's almost time. I know that's your favorite place to go. So, but we need to do that, and I want you to rest a little bit before we have to go in there, okay?
Okay.
We can just sit here and rest if you want for a
Okay.
few minutes. You want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
But life is sweet. Michael knows that term,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I think he came up with that. Sweet.
And it was sweet.
Well, why don't you rest a little bit? I'll turn all this light off of you, okay?
Okay. Oh, do I need this?
Looks great.
Huh?
Looks great. Yep, just make yourself comfortable. How's that? And then I was gonna. This table worked out good last time for you to prop your feet up if you'd like,
Yeah.
right?
Boy, that's good.
That's nice, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm just gonna move this. It's got a microphone. I'm just gonna move it right over here. There you go. No,
And I have to watch what I say.
you don't have to.
Okay. Let's put this up under your knees.
No, you don't have to watch what
Can you
say.
raise your legs just a tad? All right.
Did you know that it's difficult to put your 2 feet together and put them up?
Right.
It's more difficult to do it. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but
Hang on a second. I'll
Is
be
that
right
better?
but 2 feet.
It's hard to put them together and leave them together. They want
Yeah.
to go like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Well, your feet aren't going to be photographed, so you can just put them right there.
yeah.
You can have them however you want.
Okay, so one thing we learned from the last one is that microphone is really sensitive.
Oh, it is.
It picks up everything, and I didn't expect that. So I'm saying any shuffling or scratching noises that we make or whatever,
Mm-hmm. And she
It's on
moves
there.
around a lot.
and that's okay. But that's okay. We just want to try to keep, just a production
Like
value
this.
thing. Exactly. No more of that. Okay, so just gonna try to keep it as quiet back here as we can.
Yeah.
Except for our voices, which actually plays really well.
Good.
So, yeah. Okay. All right. So Mimi.
Huh?
So we are talking about we're recording a book about your life. So instead of writing a book, all you have to do is just tell us about it, right?
Yeah.
So last time,
I love to talk.
I know that's why we thought this would be a great idea.
Huh?
That's why we thought this would be a great idea.
I
So last time we talked about you when you were young, and then we talked about high school a little bit, and then we talked about getting married and having your kids, and then Sonny being Sonny and making life difficult for you, and then we talked about Ernie and him coming into your life, and we got all the way up to when the lake house, when you moved to the lake house.
That was wonderful
Yeah.
to go
So,
to the lake house.
You built the house there, is that right?
Yeah.
And so you tell me about like when you were going to visit the house while it was being built and how that felt.
Yeah. It began when after my mother died.
Mm-hmm.
And, which I was always leery of the fact that she had been murdered, not, by her own brother. And, that was a little hard to take. And, but even my grandmother said, you need to let that be known. You need to let it be known. And so we did. And I'm not his exact he keeps saying, this is not the girl that I grew up with. I said, no, the girl you grew up with got a little education. And you won't ever be the same. So I feel good about that.
Mm-hmm. Was it a tough situation?
Yeah, it was a bad situation. And but he ended up, he wrapped my mother's car around a telephone post. And he will never walk again.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty large thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't do that. The Lord did that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel good about it, and I'll let it stand.
Yeah. Okay, so then you were, and that was about the time that you were building the house on the lake. So tell me a little about when you would go see the house and the progress, and I bet that was fun.
It was, my husband came home one day, and he said, I've done a great thing. And I said, what have you done? And he said, I've bought a lot on the lake. And I said, no. No. I'm not going to get any more. I just can't do it. And the more I said no. He said yes. And so we got into the practice of building a house. And we went to a artist, and we got him to fix the layout, and it was really good. But we had such fun, and the kids from my church, they were supposed to come, and the boys stay so and so, and the girls stay so and so. That never one time happened. The boys joined the girls joined the boys, and I'm sure that history must have been made that year. But the kids were so good. they always cleaned up after they left. After, and they good kids,
Yeah.
good kids, and good young men and women, and the guys would treat the girls very, very in front of me. I don't know about behind my back, but in front of me, they were always kind, and we had great times, great times.
During that time at the lake when you lived there, the kids grew up there.
Yeah.
How old were the kids when you moved to the lake?
When I don't know. Do you know, John?
Yeah, I was 15. I was 15 years old,
Yeah.
and so that would make Cliff. He was like 12,
Yeah.
and Robin was probably 7ish,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere along in there.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's a good age.
It was good ages.
I'm sure they had a great time.
Yeah.
It's like an amusement park all of a
Yeah.
sudden.
They
And so you had a boat,
yeah.
and
He we weren't rich by any means, and but he had gone and bought a boat, and he brought that boat home. I was furious. But he was so proud. He was so proud of that boat.
Yeah.
And runabout, you know, and I used it for everything. If I needed to run about, I got out there and run about, you know.
So Ernie taught you how to drive the boat,
Yeah.
and then suddenly you were a boat captain, expert driver, huh?
Exactly.
But you hated water.
But
You didn't like to get in the water.
No, I was scared to death of water.
But
Scared
you
to
would
death.
drive the boat all over the place.
But
and
I did.
take a
I
skin.
never. He came home one day, and I was pulling. Was it you?
Maybe.
And he said, "You got to stop. You got to stop. Not right now." He said, "You either get something to save your life," and he said, or else I'll sell the boat. I'll turn everything around.
You mean a life jacket or something, right?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah, I had to have life jacket, the whole works.
Well, back then we could have life belts. You remember that?
Yeah.
They were great.
He didn't like the life belt, so he said, "I don't want to lose one of them."
We loved them.
But
So
what he meant if you fell, you couldn't swim.
Mm-mm.
So if you fell out of the boat, you'd sink
Yeah.
like a rock, right?
No, I wish I could tell you that was smart. I didn't think that. Why would I have an accident?
Right.
Why would I have this? Why would I have that? And he made me understand that everybody's life could like that.
yeah. So we used to take us out skiing, right?
Yeah.
And you couldn't swim and you couldn't water ski, but when we had company, you knew how to tell them how to do it, right? You would teach them how to ski just by telling them.
Yeah.
So
A
that
lot
was
of those
pretty
kids
cool.
never had a lesson.
Right. I bet lots of kids learned to ski first
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
right there at your lake house, right?
And
Just
it
like I
was a
did.
good life.
Yeah.
Who was the best skier out of y'all 3 your kids?
You.
Yes. Had say it, Jan.
Leading the witness.
Yes.
Mike didn't get to come so much, you know.
Yeah. Well, do you remember? Well, let's talk about a few more things first.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to know is, or talk about, is during this time. Okay, what were you, or were you working at this time? Oh, and what was Ernie doing?
I always worked.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I had to.
Right.
And in fact, he would rather me not. He said, I ruined so many cars because you use them like crazy, you know. So, yeah, we did have little arguments about that.
So you worked where, though? At Northside during this time?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
North Side.
As the daycare director?
Yeah.
Okay. And when did you start teaching at Davidson? Was that close to this time or a little later?
It was during this time, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know what happened. I don't remember really. Ruth Capps and myself thought we ought to always have a job, you know. So an opening came in over there, and I applied for it and got it. And he was tickled to death. So
So you could drive 10 minutes instead of
yeah.
45 minutes.
Anyway, it was a good life, a good life.
And then what was Ernie doing at this time?
Well, he had one thing he did is he had a bad case of flu.
Oh, huh?
Oh, I was
It's
worried.
called the Hong Kong flu.
Yeah, and he and Jan had it at the same time, and that was hard.
Scary, huh?
It's very dangerous, that flu. And people need to take care of it. Take a flu shot. It may you might never have to use that flu shot, but if you take it, you probably would be happy if you did.
Yeah.
And
They didn't have flu shots back then, did they? No.
they did,
They did? Okay.
but only to certain people.
Right. But what was Ernie doing for work?
Huh?
What was Ernie doing for work at that time?
He drove a truck,
Yep. For Johnson Motor Lines, right?
Johnson Motor Lines.
Yeah.
He drove that truck for a long time. And then when he quit, he quit. And we lived.
Well, they closed Johnson Motor Lines. That's how he quit.
Yeah.
They closed the company.
And then he went back to school
Yeah.
to learn, I remember, heating and air conditioning. He started a company,
Yeah.
right?
He read books. He listened to anything for heating and air conditioning. And he was a pro. So that's what it was when he was living. And I was very proud of him. He went back to a school.
CPCC, Central Piedmont.
Yeah. And he passed everything. So all these kids who say, you know, that man went back to school with these, you know, and he won out. And so I'm very proud to say that. So
What were you gonna...
anyway,
Well, during that time you lived in at the lake, one thing I remember is the tornado.
Yeah.
This was later, of course, but when I was old enough to remember this
Yeah.
stuff. But tell me about the tornado.
Yeah. It's a nightmare. The pier went down, and it's a horrible thing to stand and watch your pier.
So you were there at the house,
Yeah.
and it was a night or was it day?
It was at night.
It was at night, and it was a storm.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
There was nothing I could do. Nothing I could do. Ernie had told me, you don't need to be out there because the wind will take you away. And he said, I'm going to trust you not to be out there. So every time I'd try to get out, I could hear his voice. Don't go out. Don't go out. Because the wind was fearless, just knocking and things falling. It was a nightmare.
So you were looking out the window, and did you see
Yeah.
things happen? What'd you see?
You see a great big look. It looked like it was humongous, but it really wasn't. It was just the pier, and the pier became nothing.
Just picked it up and turned it over, huh?
Mm-hmm. And it was good. We learned a lot then.
Yeah, I really actually wasn't there when that happened. I'd already gotten married.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
I saw
happens.
pictures, but I wasn't there to.
That's what
experience.
happens when you get married.
I know. What you gonna do?
So, but it was sad. Sad.
Yeah. Well, can you tell us about the some of the things that I remember happening there were the dogs that we had. Remember Poochie?
Oh yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit about him? He was one dog we had.
We never really got a name for Poochie.
Well, that was his name, Poochie.
Yeah, he started as Poochie and he ended as Poochie. So, but he was a good dog. He was a good dog.
He was always smelled terrible because he would stay sour because he'd go in the water and then he was just always dirty and sour smelling because he couldn't stay out of the
but
water.
he was such a sweet dog.
So do you remember us when we would go skiing? If we fell or were out in the water near anywhere where he could see, and the rope had a buoy on it, he was always chasing balls. So if he saw us out there and that buoy was floating, he would jump off the pier and come all the way out there to it until he could find it. And until he could get it, rather.
Yeah.
And do you remember what he used to do when we'd go get gas down at the marina?
I don't.
He would swim from the pier, and he would see us go down there. He would swim from the pier and to the marina because it wasn't that far off.
Yeah, I remember.
And we'd look, and there he come in the water, just a swimming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he
I
was.
think he saved a couple of lives, didn't he?
I don't know if he saved any lives, but he was a trip, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of dog was it?
It was just a mutt. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think somebody gave him to us. Frank?
Yeah.
Somebody gave him to us.
Frank always had a dog that
Frank
he needed
gave
to
us-
get rid of.
Yeah, and Frank gave us a German Shepherd. Remember
Yeah.
him?
He was a good dog.
He scratched up your orange door.
Yes, he did.
Do you remember that?
Yes, he did. Yes, I do remember that. That heathen dog.
What was that dog's name?
That heathen dog.
What was that dog's name? I don't remember. He wasn't a good dog. He's the one that jumped through the window when
Yeah.
Cliff had scoliosis. Tell us about that. And about what he had to do. He was 17.
He had to have a cast on his back
From his under his neck to where?
to buttocks.
Yeah, right past his little
Yeah.
tiny end.
And I felt so bad for him. And
How long did he have to wear that thing?
he wore it,
For 1 year.
yeah, 1 year. And he never tried to get by with it or anything. He just, when I came home one day and he was out on the pier, and I said, Cliff, you can't do that.
You did not say it that calmly.
I probably didn't.
No. I think you said it with a little more power than that.
But I said, you know what this water does, and you know that if I'm here, I'll come in after you, and both of us will drown. And I said, but I can't stand this. You got to tell me that you won't do that. So we got all that settled, and everything turned out good.
And then one day, that German Shepherd was afraid of the what? Do you remember?
He was, what was it he was afraid of?
The thunder.
Yeah, he didn't like thunder.
And one day we had this bad storm, and Cliff was downstairs on his bed. And we had these big plate glass windows in every room. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
And what happened?
They crushed in.
He jumped through the window.
Yeah.
The dog that was thundering.
He decided he wasn't going to stay in there and have all that glass there. So,
Yeah, he was outside in the storm. He decided he needed in, so he jumped through Cliff's window, which was right above his bed,
Yeah.
and Cliff was in the bed.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not a pretty
It
thing.
was not a pretty thing. I could have killed that dog that day.
That's the day we got rid of him.
Yeah. He's always there was something with him. He was a beautiful dog and had won many things, but he was dumb as a dog. when he was ready to come atop, but we had some messes.
Yeah.
And then what about the ship's wheel?
Ship's wheel.
Do you remember all that?
Yeah.
How did you come to have that?
Well, we had a ship's wheel, and we had it in the backyard. And when Cliff got married, he got married in front of the ship's wheel.
Mm-hmm.
So, how did he do that?
Well, when he got married at the lake, and they
Yeah.
did it in front of the ship's wheel. And so when you sold the house later, a good bit later, he wanted the ship's wheel, and because he had just bought a house on the lake, and he wanted the ship's wheel, so he ended up with it, and own his lake property now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much the story of the ship's wheel. But Ernie bought it. Ernie got it from somewhere, but I don't know where.
He got it down in around Louisiana,
Mm-hmm.
and he brought it home. And he said, "I have your ship's wheel." If he ever promised me anything, I always got it. Always. And whether I wanted it or not, I really didn't care about that ship's wheel.
But you loved it when he got it.
Yeah.
I mean, once he got it up,
Yeah.
He-
And
put it in the ground.
yeah. But I was spoiled rotten. Anything I wanted, I got.
Now, did you do the cooking? Did you always do the cooking?
No,
Who did it?
Ernie.
How about the cleaning?
The kids did the cleaning.
The kids and sometimes Ernie would do the cleaning, but you're right, we had to clean every weekend. There was no plan for us. All work though on the weekends.
Well, that was good for you.
And Cliff he would have to mow the grass, right? But then didn't he do some funny things with the lawnmower?
Oh, yeah. Ernie said, I don't know if Cliff is doing it or not. But he said every time he gets behind that lawnmower, it has accidents. And he said, I'm convinced that he's pulling something in there.
Well, he used to run over everything.
Yeah.
Anything he could find, it seemed, he ran over it.
Tin cans,
Trying to break the lawnmower so he could stop. And then
glass jars.
I heard he would run it without oil in it
Yeah,
to make it break.
yeah. So you were behind that.
No,
He wasn't even in the world then.
No, but I also have been guilty of those types of antics with the lawnmower. So,
But
but I guess
I'm
we think
telling
alike, me and Cliff, a little bit about
Cliff-
lawnmowers.
Cliff was, he was a job.
Yeah, he was fun though.
And then when he got that cast off, how did he react after that?
Oh, he was like a different person. He was handsome. He was girl crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then he found his wife, and they're still together.
And she's a very nice lady.
Yes.
And I forgot what I was going to say.
We're spending the weekend with them this weekend.
Not this weekend, but Thanksgiving.
And,
Soon.
Soon.
We're going to be a family again.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I thought about was when I got married, we went to, I think the first night we stayed at your house. Did we? No. We went on our honeymoon.
Mm-hmm.
And
To the beach.
to Charleston.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then we got back. We stayed at your house one night.
Mm-hmm.
And what did Cliff do when he saw that we went in the same room at night?
He said, Mom, are you going to let that happen? that she's going to sleep in the same room with him? I said, well, they're married. That's permission. And he's, that's my sister. And I said, and she's my daughter. So we just have to leave it there.
He was pretty upset over it, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then we moved. We got ready, and John lived in Panama City, Florida. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
When we left from there?
He was stationed there.
He was stationed there, yes. And so I moved from Charlotte, or from the lake, to Panama City. And what happened with that? What'd you do with that? Remember that day when I left?
Yeah, I cried.
And Diane was there.
I hated her.
And father-in-law was there.
I hated him.
But they're very sweet people. But you did not like it. You just got really upset over it that I left.
did. And I stayed upset for about 6 years.
Yeah, you really did. But and then when we got out of service, what happened? We came in, well, we got, it wasn't after we got out of service. It was, we were building a house. We got out of service and lived in a couple of apartments. And then we decided to build a house. And while we were building our house, we decided, okay, I'm going to back up one more time. Remember we had a house, and then we decided to sell the house, and it sold very quick, like in a week.
Yeah.
And so we had no place to go, really. We weren't prepared for that because it was taking 2 years to sell houses at the time because of the interest rates were 16%. So we weren't prepared. And so what happened after that? We were looking at apartments, and you suggested that we come live at the lake.
Yeah.
The kids were really small. You remember that?
Yeah.
And so what did we do? We moved in downstairs.
Yeah. And that worked.
Yeah. Do you remember how we did it? What we did? The downstairs? To the downstairs for us to live there?
Just almost rebuilt.
Well, we just put a little apartment stove in the laundry room and a refrigerator and a sink. Remember that? When
Yeah.
you made your laundry room into a little
Yeah.
kitchen.
Yeah.
And how was that with having the kids there? We lived there for a while, probably a year. How
Ernie
was
was
that?
mad.
He was mad we were there?
He said, wait a minute.
No, he was, you had the kids there every day,
Mhm.
Michael and Ashley, and they were young. They were real
Yeah.
young. And so they would go upstairs every night. Remember all that?
Yeah. And he said, it's just not fair.
Yeah, you're talking about when we moved out.
Yeah. I said, what do you mean it's not fair? I said, they have to have a home, and they have to have furniture. They have to have everything. And we're going to help them. He said, oh, I know that. But who's going to help us when they start taking those babies away? I said, what do you mean taking them away? They're not going to take the kids away. He said, well, they've already started. Jan takes Michael and goes downstairs. I don't see Michael anymore.
Well, what about all that, like, Ernie going swimming with them? Remember, he used to have them jump off the pier,
Yeah,
and he loved that.
he did. He loved to play with them,
Right.
and he would get so angry. He said, "They took away the last thing I had." And I said, "You don't need to look at it like that. You knew that they were going to get married. You knew that they were going to have babies. You just that's just it."
So, remember that boat that that Cliff had, the little tiny boat, sailboat?
Mm-hmm.
He would take the kids out in that. Remember that?
Sunfish.
Yeah, the little sunfish boat.
Mm-hmm.
Ernie would take them out in that boat, in that little sailboat. And they loved, especially Michael. We would fill that, when it was up on the shore, we would fill it up with water, or not fill it up, but we would put water in it. And he would just play in that thing for hours. Remember that?
Yeah,
He loved it there.
yeah,
And so did Ashley. She loved it there too.
Yeah.
We had a lot of good times, and then we had to move because we got our house built.
yeah.
So
That was sad.
yeah, that wasn't a good day, but we had a good time when we were there.
Yeah. But it's he was so hurt when he said they took away my babies.
He kind of got used to them being there, didn't he?
Yeah. And I said, "Honey, that's life. That's life. That's biblical. You can't keep your kids all the time."
Well, before you moved to the lake, we skipped one little part. Before we moved to the lake, remember we lived in Pondella? So Ernie had a little house on Dinglewood, and it was getting a little small for us. So while you were building, before you built the house at the lake, we moved to Pondella. Do you remember that house?
Mm-hmm.
And can you remember some stories from that house?
Some, if I think, because I wasn't really fond of losing my children.
Well, no, your children were there then.
Huh?
Your children were there.
Yeah.
We were probably, in Pondella, we were probably 13, 14, I was, and on down. So, you remember keeping Bobby's minor bird?
Oh yeah.
And do you remember some of those stories of that bird? We kept him a long time.
Yeah. We did.
Can you remember any of the stories? Some of the things he used to say? He talked really well.
He'd say, "Aw, shut up." He could say this. "Aw, shut up."
Really mean.
Yeah.
And then when the phone would ring, what would he say?
"Somebody get the phone."
And then another thing he would say is, "No, he not. He gone."
Mm-hmm.
He would say that.
Yeah. He
But-
was a mess.
Do you remember when grandmother died
Oh,
and the
yeah.
preacher was there?
Yeah.
And there were several people there visiting you. And but the preacher was in there. I think it wasn't, I don't think it was Dr. Hudson. I think it was Hartman. I think it was Hartman and and Mr. Shearer there.
Yeah.
And they said something. And do you remember what the bird did? Oh, they were praying. They were praying. And then what did the bird say while they were praying?
I can't remember that.
They would start praying, and he started going, "Ah, shut up!" And he kept saying it over and
He did.
over and over the whole time they prayed.
"Oh, shut up."
So it was pretty funny.
It was.
The kids, me, Cliff, and Robin were dying laughing, trying to get him to stop, and he would not stop.
Oh, shut up.
And then,
That's when I got rid of him.
well, we had to, yeah, he was a trip.
Well, Bobby was a trip.
Yes, she was. And then Cracker was there too.
Yeah.
But before we moved to Pondella, we lived on Dinglewood. And do you remember the pets we had there with Cracker? Do you remember the other pet we had?
A duck.
Yeah. We had a duck for a long time.
Yeah.
And what would that duck do? What's some of the things he would do? His name was Duck. That's what we called him.
He would he would eat the dog food. He'd just throw it down, the dog food, and you just almost have to kill him to get him to stop. And but I thought that was the funniest thing, that dog eating and eating the duck's food.
So Cracker would eat the duck's food because the duck was eating his food.
Yeah, it was a nightmare there for a while. Ernie said, what in the world's the matter with all these kids? What have they done to them? I said, all we've done is try to keep them alive.
Do you remember on that side road there was a black neighborhood behind us?
Yes.
And the people would walk down the road all the time. What would the dog and duck do? What did Cracker do? And then what did the duck do when they were walking?
The Cracker. I don't
Chase that, like we had a chain link fence, and then what did he?
He chased the duck.
He would chase down every time the people would walk down the street. He would run back and forth barking.
Yeah.
Around the fence. And then what did the duck start doing?
The duck started, I know he started chasing them.
Yeah, the duck would follow Cracker, quacking.
Mm-hmm.
So here goes Cracker, barking, 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 and here comes the duck behind him, quacking, quacking, quacking.
It was actually a nightmare.
It was pretty funny.
It was.
So they had a path. They made a path down the fence. The duck and Cracker.
Yeah. And those black kids laughed. They loved that. They laughed.
And then we had a pool, and we weren't allowed to put the animals in the pool.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what did we do when you weren't there?
Evidently, you did everything you weren't supposed to do.
We loved putting the duck in the pool.
Yes, you did. I think you put the duck in the pool the minute somebody left. But it was funny. It was funny.
Do you remember how you caught us?
Huh?
Do you remember how you caught us doing that?
What'd I do?
Ernie actually caught it. The duck had pooped in the pool and we didn't realize it.
Yeah.
And so we got in big trouble.
Yeah.
So we had to quit doing it.
Yeah.
So you said Ernie spoiled you. Anything you asked for, if he could get it for you, he would, right?
Huh?
He would get it for you if you asked for it. But one of the things I remember is that is your Cadillac. When did you first get a Cadillac? was your first one? What color was it?
I don't remember.
Was it the blue one? The big blue, light blue one? Was that your first one or is that your second
It
one?
could have been.
Yeah.
Because he would, I always wanted a Cadillac, and I always wanted, whatever, you know. If it was a step above, then I wanted that. But he did. Whatever I wanted, I got. And I was always, and then I was always afraid that I was going to die first. And Fran would get my husband.
Who's Fran?
Francis.
Rocco.
Yeah. And she was after Ernie from the first time she ever laid eyes on him. But he was mine. So, anyway, we got that straight.
Mm-hmm. So what about, we talked about where you lived and all these things, but what about vacation? Where do you guys used to go on vacation? With
We
the kids?
always went to Myrtle Beach.
Myrtle Beach?
Yeah.
Mhm. And you just would rent a house there or?
Rent a house there. And, or an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever was available, because sometimes you miss.
Mm-hmm.
And the best time down Myrtle Beach is it's fun early, and so we went there mostly. And then one time we went to Mays with all the kids, including Bud.
And then didn't you go to Ocean Isle?
Huh?
Ocean Isle?
Yeah,
We went there a few times.
Ocean Isle, yeah.
Did you almost buy a house there?
Almost.
Right.
Almost.
How'd that happen?
Well, Gail and Tony were with us, and they wanted to buy a place, you know. So I looked and I looked and I looked, and then I saw how Gail let the kids jump up and down on their couches, and everything was torn up. So I said, no, I don't want to buy a place. I don't want to buy a place. And what I didn't want was to have to, because Gail never told her kids no. And see, I don't mind saying no if it's a good cause. And so I watched how she let the children treat the furniture, and I mean, just to tear the cushion off. That's absurd, you know. So anyway, I said, no, I'm pulling out of that. I don't want to do that. And so that's how we got out of that.
Mm-hmm. But it was on the canal, right? And it was on the canal.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are nice places where you can keep a boat. And
Yeah.
I remember we used to fish
Yeah.
and catch crabs and all that back
Yeah,
there.
it would have been fun,
Yeah.
and we did it for a time, but then we got tired of it, and started doing something else.
Hmm.
But we had good times.
That's right.
We had good times.
And then you moved, when you sold the house, the lake house, you ended up selling that house, right?
Yeah,
And this was what time, what year when you sold that?
I can't say,
Yeah, I don't remember either.
It was
because right now everything's
Yeah,
in
it was
little
probably
letters.
early 80s.
Huh?
It was probably early to mid 80s
yeah,
when you moved
but
to Huntersville.
yeah, we need to move, and so we did.
And then at that time you were working at Davidson,
Yeah, working
Right.
at Davidson,
and how'd you like working there? How'd you like
loved it.
teaching there? That was
I
great,
loved
right?
it. I loved it, really. I did so many things. Children's choirs,
Yeah.
even with that. And the music teacher complained to the lady.
Want me to help you out a little bit? Get this out.
But we did a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was all, most of it was right.
How long did you work at Davidson Elementary?
Davidson Elementary,
Like 25 years or
I
something?
don't know.
Yeah, this was
I
a
know.
while.
They would call me a teacher. But I really am not a teacher.
You were a teacher assistant,
Yeah. And
but you taught a lot.
I taught.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I had the training, but there's so much to that. And Mike, you might know something about that, with when you got out of school, college,
Hmm.
what were you gonna do?
Well, I was in graduate school to become a history professor, but then I found out what history professors made. I decided I didn't want to do that, so I figured something else out. But so one thing I remember that you like to read.
I do.
But my whole life I remembered you like to read. And what kind of books did you really like the most?
Not romance.
No, there was a certain genre that you liked, and an author that I remember that you were a really big fan of.
Yep.
Who's that?
You know what? I hate to say it, but I cannot remember what.
But the westerns, right?
Yeah,
You like to read westerns, and there was
Yeah.
Louis L'Amour.
Louis L'Amour.
Louis L'Amour, right?
Yeah,
And I remember those books. There was hundreds of those books all over the place,
yeah.
and you'd read them all.
I read them all. I read everything that Louis L'Amour
Yeah.
ever printed.
Right. And then after you moved to Huntersville, you had never been to out west. right? And then you took a trip.
Yep.
And what? Tell us about that.
Out west. Out west. I wanted to go west and see the mountains. And everybody, every single person ought to take a little trip and go to another part of this country.
Yeah, I agree. Everyone should go out west at least once. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
It's gorgeous.
You know, it's. I love westerns, and I'm not ashamed to tell you that
Sure.
I'll read anything by Lula Moore. There's some people I won't read, but him and several others, I'll read anything they write.
And when you went on your trip, how did you go? Did you fly or did you drive or?
Went on a bus.
No, with Beep with Ernie with Beep. You went. Didn't he take you once?
We did. Yeah, he said, "Now I want you to say no. I'm driving Miss Daisy."
Yeah.
And I said, "No, you're driving Miss Jackie." And he said, "Well, okay." We were driving Miss Jackie, and we're mighty proud of it.
Well, didn't he say that he was driving Miss Crazy?
Probably.
And he drove you out west, and
Yeah.
where did you go out there?
A little bit of everywhere. We went to Indian villages.
Mm-hmm.
Went to all sorts of things.
Grand Canyon.
Grand Canyon.
And did you go to Bryce National Park
Yeah.
on that trip?
Yeah. And it was just anytime you hear horses' hooves, you got to stop and listen because it might be Indians. And they're kind of dangerous.
Yeah, they can be.
And so I just loved them. I couldn't get enough of what they do. They're clean. They're you don't want to eat much of anything because you might be eating a rattlesnake. So you don't want to just not ask what it would. But Ernie would do anything. I tell you,
He wasn't a humongous traveler.
no,
He didn't really love to travel.
no, he didn't.
But after he passed away, you did a lot of traveling
I did.
on the bus,
Yeah,
on a tour bus.
that was a good outfit, but it was too small, and finally it just got gone. You know.
But where's some of the places you've been on the tour bus? You went out west one time.
Yeah, out west. You see waterfalls.
You went to Niagara Falls. Out in Canada, you went out
Yeah,
there.
but there's more than that.
I remember you were in Canada the same time I was one time,
Yeah,
and we were just kind of a couple days apart.
yeah. That was wonderful.
Yeah.
I kept thinking I'll run into
we
it.
did too, yeah. Or maybe we did. Did we see you
I
in
think
Pennsylvania
we did.
Pennsylvania somewhere, and
Yeah,
maybe we did one
Pennsylvania.
time.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
but I love those bus tours.
Right.
I really
Because
did.
they always had good tour guides that knew all the information, right? And all you had to do was just set your luggage outside your hotel, and
That's right.
they'd come and get it. That's the way to go, right?
Yeah, that's the way to go. So, but in all of that, I had bought a jacket, and it inside the jacket was pictures of little Japanese people,
Really?
and so, but I wanted that jacket. Sometimes weird things pop up, and I knew Ernie would not like a jacket with Japanese people in it. He says the Japanese are the worst people in the world to be. He said, So,
Do you know why that is?
huh?
Why did he feel that way?
Because he was in World War II.
And he was where on December 7th, 1941?
He was right there in
Pearl Harbor, right?
Yeah, Pearl Harbor. I didn't even know him then.
Well, you went with him. Didn't you go to Hawaii to the 50th anniversary
Yeah,
in 1991, right?
yeah.
Tell us about that trip a little bit.
Well, it was good. Planned down to the. Sometimes it gets planned.
A little too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But you were there with other Pearl Harbor survivors.
yeah,
And how did beep like that? How did
the men stood together, and you could pass a group of men and hear all kinds of things. You know, and Ernie said to me, he said, see that guy up there? He said, watch what he's doing. And I watched. And the man was decapitated right in front of him. And that, he cried so hard. He said, that's why. And he that president that I have a something about that president. He's the one that ordered the third. They say they did two, and then added one more bomb.
the atomic bombs? Yeah.
Yeah,
So Truman, right?
yeah, Truman.
Right.
And so he always has been my hero.
Right.
And
He ended that war pretty quick.
yeah,
But when you were at Pearl Harbor, was it pretty emotional for Ernie?
it was.
Yeah.
It was very emotional. He couldn't eat. Tony wanted to go and eat some kind of stuff. And Ernie said, I just can't do that. I can't do that. And he got up and left. And I didn't say anything else to Tony. I said he's about had it. And I'm with the different people that's here.
Yeah.
He said, watch the Japanese. He said they're kind of cocky.
Mm-hmm.
They think they're really good. And he said, I just can't do it. I can't eat it. And I just can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So Tony accepted that, and we left.
Yeah.
It was so hard on him.
Yeah.
So
But you enjoyed Hawaii a little bit.
Huh?
I
we,
imagine
we
you
did.
enjoyed
Yeah,
parts
we
of it.
did. Got to see the gals shake their panties and everything. And so, and they do a good job.
Yeah, right.
So, anyway,
So how are you feeling right now?
how am I feeling?
Mm-hmm.
I feel a little sad for Ernie
Yeah.
because he's that night he said, I don't know what to do. He said, I don't know who to hang out with and who not to. And I said, well, just stick with us. And Tony's understands. And so we went on, but he said, no, there's some parts that I'll never forget.
Yeah, war's pretty tough, that's for sure.
Yeah. And there, one of the things was being torn up, you know, and the residue from that, you know, is still cleaning up. It's horrible. So I didn't talk much, you know, about it, because I don't want him to.
Think about it, yeah.
Yeah.
But he was proud to be a
Yeah.
member of the survivors.
He was proud.
Yeah. And when I talk about production foul right there.
Sorry. I'm trying.
So when I talk about Ernie, sometimes I'm calling him Beep.
Yeah.
Right. So tell us about that, his nickname, that and how he got it.
I don't really. He got so many nicknames. You know, and
And what did you also call him?
huh?
Well, you used to call him another name all the time.
I don't know.
Bonji.
Bungie.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
And what did he call you?
Doll.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
The way we got Bebop, do you remember how that name came about?
I do, and then again I don't.
It was when I was pregnant with Michael, because he was the first one. We were trying to figure out what to call Ernie and you knew right away you wanted to be called Mimi. And so Ernie said Grandpop. So when Michael was coming up and he started talking, he couldn't say Grandpop. So it ended up as Bebop.
Yeah. Bebop.
And so that's what Ernie was Bebop.
Yeah.
And then when Heather was born, she couldn't say Bebop. So what did she say?
I don't know.
She called him Peapot.
Peep.
Because she came out was Peapot. And so that's what she called him until she got older. And now she called him Bebop. But that's how he got that name.
I know.
It was Grandpa to Bebop.
Well, he kept it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, he liked it.
You know. He said, if they want to call me, I don't care what they call me, as long as they call me.
Mm-hmm.
And
You want to fix that cushion? I'm wondering if you're.
I
are
really
you-
gotta go to the bathroom.
Yeah, I think so. We might need to stop.
Sure.